Happy Tuesday! My name is Alan.
My name's Nick.
And welcome into the dungeon.
Alright. Lander's not wasting any time here. He's going straight for Captain Kelman's neck as he tries to slop it off in one fell swoop. Lander's got a +8 combat ratio here.
Oh, I think you got this.
And all damage is doubled.
Oh yes, I think you got this. If you roll a 10, it's gonna be... Ooh, sugar! It's a 2.
Sweet sugar. But on an 8, so a 2... Yeah, so one shot kill.
Nice.
But he manages to nick me with his dagger for 3 points. Following that, Lander's gonna down his potion and regain 5 endurance points.
You did it, Lander! You're unstoppable with that sword!
I can feel the power. I think we may have a chance of defeating the Dark Lords after all. We're turning to section 218.
Lander looks up from the dead captain to see the macabre faces of the other crew members. They are surrounding him. There are at least 20 of them, and they are armed with cutlasses and axes.
We can either fight them by turning to section 43, or we can attempt to evade by grabbing a nearby rope and swinging across the deck of a Duranese warship.
I think it's smart to try and evade, right? It's 20 of them. I mean, we've got the sword and they're crew members. They might not be that strong, but it's 20 of them.
I mean, Lander's feeling strangely emboldened, given he usually prefers the safer option. The lure of swinging across like a pirate of the Caribbean is tugging at my heartstrings here.
Yeah, I'd say that Thorin has already grabbed the rope, seeing as you're surrounded at the moment, and is calling out to you. Lander! Hold on to the rope! Let's get out of here!
I'm coming, Thorin! Lander sheaves the sumerswerd, grabs the rope with both hands, and together with his brother, tries to swing across the deck onto the Duranese warship.
Okay, so we are turning to section 105. Unfortunately for the brothers, the rope has been nearly cut in two by a sword blow, and it is likely to snap under their weight.
Oh, here we go into the water again. Joe Dever.
So here we are asked to pick a number from the random number table to see if our rope and our luck holds.
We need to pick a number from the random number table. You know the drill by now. We're both going to roll. If we both roll within the same brackets, which for reference is 0 to 4 or 5 to 9, we'll go with it. If not, the one who rolls the highest will roll the determining roll. Those rolls there.
Okay, you can go first.
Here we go.
That's a 1.
Yeah, I've got a feeling it's going to be bad.
So then let's hope I roll high. That's a 6, which I think is the other bracket.
That's correct, so you need to roll again for the determining result.
Let's see. Another 6.
Let's hope that the higher bracket is actually good.
Yes, let's see. So we turn to section 120. Luck is with you, for you land safely on the deck of the Kalkam, a Duranese warship. The soldiers here have been involved in a desperate battle, but have fought off the enemy and are cutting the grappling ropes that hold the ship to a death hulk. From out of the smoke strides Lord Axim, his face blooded and his shield badly scarred.
Thank the gods that you're alive, LoneWolf. The fight has been bitter and our loss is high, but I'm heartened to indeed see you standing before me now. Look yonder, their flagship is ablaze.
Through the fog of war, the brothers can see that the huge death hulk is slowly sinking beneath a plume of dense black smoke. The Kalkaram is eventually freed, and slowly it maneuvers out of the tangle of wreckage. A wind begins to stir, filling its tattered sails and carrying away the smoke of battle. Lord Axim orders the royal arms of Duranor to be hoisted aloft so that the other ships can rally to the Kalkar. For the first time since the battle began, you can now see the other Duranese ships. It is an amazing sight, for as the enemy flagship sinks beneath the waves, so every Death Hulk on the horizon returns to its watery grave.
Their sorcery is broken! We have won this battle!
Lord Axim exclaims, and within a few minutes, not one of the Death Hulks remains afloat.
I've got to add 2 endurance points from the last 2 sections, which I've forgotten to do. Did Lander take any damage? No, because you one-shot killed the zombie, didn't you?
Yep, and then I didn't fight any of the other fights.
So yeah, you're max. Nice. We're not given an option here, but to turn to section 225. 70 Duranese warships left port backs, but only 50 now enter the home Gulf. The battle has claimed many brave men, including Admiral Calfin, who died aboard the flagship Duranor, the first of the ships to be sunk. But despite the heavy loss, a great victory has been won. A victory which inspires the Duranese soldiers with new strength, so that the past ordeal of both the voyage and battle are now forgotten. As their optimism and determination return, all are eager to reach the Holmgard and raise the siege. It is the dusk of the 37th day of the brothers' quest, when they sight the spires of Holmgard on the horizon. The city still stands defiantly against the army of the Dark Lords, although constantly under siege. Flickering in the darkness, the brothers can see the small fires which burn throughout the capital. A confident Lord Axum joins Lander and Torrin at the brow. The moonless sky will aid us this dawn. We shall enter the harbour unseen. Come the dawn, my men will scatter the wretched foe like dead leaves upon the wind of storm.
As the brothers enter Holmgard harbour at the head of the Duranese fleet, Lander unsheathes the sumerswerd as the LoneWolves prepare to fulfill their destiny.
No options here. Section 350 we go, and Lander gets 1 more point of endurance.
Holmgard has suffered much since the brothers' departure. Many of the shops and houses they remember passing on their way to the quay are little more now than heaps of ashes. The Dark Lord's army, with their evil engines of war, surround the walls, and the flaming arcs of fireballs shooting through the air continually light the night sky as they rain down on the streets below. The people fight in the fire as best they can, but they are hungry and exhausted and close to surrender. At first, as it enters the harbour, the fleet is mistaken for the enemy and cries of despair can be heard along the quay. But as the first of the soldiers set foot in the city and unfurl the royal arms of Duranor, the news of the LoneWolves' return spreads quickly. The cries of despair have changed into a chorus of cheers. The Kai Lords have returned.
The brothers are standing atop of a great watchtower, high above the main gate of the city, when the first light of dawn creeps slowly over the horizon. Thousand upon thousand of the black-clad enemy are massed around the city wall, huddled like beetles in the trenches that cover the plain. In the midst of this horde, a great red tent has been erected, bearing the symbol of a broken skull. It is a mark of Zagarna, Lord of Kag, the Dark Lord of Helgadad. His great ambition is the destruction of Holmgard. His fierce desire to lead his army to victory over the House of Ulnar and claim Summerland for his own. But victory is not to be his this day. As Lander raises the sumerswerd high above his head, a shaft of dawn sunlight catches upon the tip of the golden sword, and a brilliant flash of blinding white flame runs the entire length of the blade. The power of the sumersword electrifies Lander. His senses reel, and now his body reacts instinctively. He lowers the sumersword and points the blade towards the tent of Lord Zagarna. There is a mighty roar as the power of the sun sword is unleashed in a searing white beam. The tent explodes, and a brilliant fireball of white flame mushrooms skyward. A long and terrible cry rends the air. It is Lord Zagarna, the leader of the evil army, is no more.
Oh, damn! Gripped with fear and panic, the vast black army rise up and run in chaos from the city wall. The impossible has happened. Their invincible master is slain. Again, the sumerswerd has returned to defeat them. The army and the allies of the Duranor ride out of the city gates in pursuit of the panic-stricken enemy as they run blindly towards the Durnkrag mountains. The victory is ours. Holmgard is saved and the murder of the Kai has finally been avenged. But for the LoneWolves, Torrin and Lander, a high life of adventure has only just begun. A new challenge awaits them and the sumerswerd in Book 3 of the LoneWolf series. The Caverns of Kalte!
Hoo-hoo, we did it!
That's Book 2 done and dusted. Bring on Book 3.
Here we go, the Caverns of Kalte.
It's not Kalte, it's Kalte!
Kalte!
Kalte! The story so far. In the northern land of Sommerland, it had been the custom for many centuries to send the children of the warrior lords to the monastery of Kai. There they were taught the skills and disciplines of their noble fathers. Landa and Thorin are the LoneWolves, and they are now the last of the warrior lords of Sommerland. 1 year ago, the ancient enemy of their people, the Dark Lords of Helgedad, suddenly invaded Sommerland and completely devastated the Kai monastery. All of the Kai warriors were in attendance for the feast of Ferman, and all except the brothers were massacred. The brothers fought their way to Holmgard, the capital of their country, where the king sent them upon a desperate quest for help. Their mission was fraught with great danger, for Sommerland had been betrayed by one of its own magicians, Vonotar, the traitor. His agent sought to kill the brothers at every opportunity, but the LoneWolves' skill and strength defeated their evil aims. The brothers returned to Holmgard at the head of a great fleet, the allies of Duranor, and destroyed the Dark Lord army that besieged their capital.
Much of Sommerland was ruined by the war. The rich farmlands were laid to waste, and many towns were razed to the ground. But the Sommerlanding are a tough people, and were undaunted by the enormous task that lay ahead. They set about the rebuilding of war-torn Sommerland with such determination that now, 1 year later, few of the scars of war remain visible. For the crucial part that Landa and Thorin played in the victory, the king has bestowed upon them the title of Freyal of Sommerland, a rare honour for one so young. The ruins of the Kai monastery and much of the surrounding lands are now Freyland, under their protection. Work to rebuild the monastery was about to commence, when disturbing news from the north prompted the king to summon Landa and Thorin to the capital. Many merchants returning from the summer trading expeditions to Kalte told of the fall of Brumalmark, the leader of the Ice Barbarians. The description of the hunchback magician who has succeeded the fierce Brumalmark fits only one man, Vonotar, the traitor.
After the defeat of the Dark Lords, Vonotar escaped to the frozen waste of Kalte. He made his way to the ice fortress of Ikaya, where through deception he tricked the cruel Brumalmark into adopting him as his magician. It was a mistake that was to cost the barbarian leader his fortress and his life. The news that Vonotar still lives spreads like wildfire throughout Sommerland. Thousands of Sommerlanding surround the capital and demand that Vonotar be made to pay for his treachery. So great is the outcry that the king is obliged to promise that the evil traitor will be brought back to Holmgard and made to stand trial for his crimes. For the LoneWolves, the king's promise is the start of a quest that will pit them against a hated foe deep within the hostile caverns of Kalte.
So having completed book 2, we can now pick one Kai discipline more, and as we discussed in episode 0, we're taking it in turns. Al got the last one, so it's over to me.
What are you thinking of getting?
I mean, I want to get another weapon skill, but I don't think I can. Because it says here, upon entering the Kai monastery, each initiate is taught to master one type of weapon, so that's out.
Shame.
I'm tempted to go with animal kinship, but that's part of me saying that's because of the death loop that was in the last book.
Yeah.
Ideally, it should be something that we don't have already.
Well, yes, of course. There was no point in getting something we do have. Or you couldn't really, I imagine, if it were a one-player game, so we shouldn't do it ourselves, right?
Yeah. I think because Landa already has hunting and tracking, camouflage probably makes the most sense.
Sounds good. You happy with that? Let's go.
Yeah, I'm going to go with camouflage. So I'm going to log that on my action shot.
Okay, we now turn over to the equipment section.
And before leaving the northern port of Anskaven, Thorin and Landa are escorted to the city hall and equipped with special winter boots, a tunic, a fur-lined cloak and mittens. They are given a map of Kalte, which we're going to open in a separate tab, and a pouch of gold. To find out how much gold is in the pouch, we pick a number from the random number table, and then we add 10 to the number we've picked. Do you want to roll first this time?
Okay, let's go 0. 0 is a 10, right? Well, I rolled a 9, so 9 plus 10, 19 gold crowns for Thorin. Not too bad. We can add it to any gold we had left over from the last book. I didn't have any left over, so I've got a total of 19 now.
Over to Landa. Lander's pouch has 18 gold in it.
We've been making a name for ourselves this past year. We've been grinding away and making some crowns.
Lander also had 0, so that's a total of 18.
We are rich.
That we are. Now, before we set sail, we are given the choice of the following items, in addition to that we already possess. But we have to remember that we can only carry 2 weapons, and we each get a choice of any 2 of the following. We can take either a sword, a short sword, padded leather waistcoat, which is a special item, a spear, a mace, warhammer, an axe, potion, quarterstaff, rations, broadsword, and that's it. Well, this is going to be easy for me. I'm going straight up with a padded leather waistcoat and a potion.
Very good. I'm following your lead here and taking a padded leather waistcoat too. But instead of a potion, as I still have one from the last book, I'm going to take a ration, because sometimes we do need rations and we don't have any available.
Alrighty then. Let's log that on our action charts. We're now into the section of Kai Wisdom, and this chapter states that our mission will be fraught with great danger, for Kalte is bleak and hostile land, and our foe is a master of cunning. It says here for us to use the map to help us plot our course to the ice fortress of Ikaya. It also recommends that we make notes as we progress with the story, for they will be of great help in future adventures. Many things that we find will aid us in this adventure, and some special items will be of use in future LoneWolf adventures, whilst others may be red herrings and of no real use at all. So we need to be selective in what we decide to keep. It also states that there are many routes to the ice fortress of Ikaya, but only one will enable the brothers to capture Vonatar and return to Summerland with a minimum of danger. A wise choice of Kai disciplines and a great deal of courage should enable any player to complete the mission, no matter how weak his initial combat skill or endurance points score. Hopefully this one has been proofread by the editor before launching. Successful completion of the previous LoneWolf adventures is not essential for the success of this quest. Oh, interesting, so you can just jump straight into this one. Not sure how you do that without the sumerswerd. The betrayal of the brothers' country can only be avenged by bringing the traitor to justice. Good luck.
Thank you. So forwards to our adventure.
And here we are, section 1 of the Caverns of Kalte.
Even before the brothers accepted the task of bringing Vonatar to justice, preparations were being made for their voyage to Kalte. The captain of the summerlanding warship, Cardonal, having returned from a long Kalter Sea patrol, was ordered to await their arrival at Anskavin. During the night, food, ice equipment, and canoe dog teams were taken on board. The mission was highly secret. Only senior members of the crew were told the true nature of the voyage that lay ahead. The plan is to set the brothers ashore at Halley Bluff, drop anchor, and await their return. An elite team of trusted guides will lead the brothers from the bluff to Ikaya. Once inside the ice fortress, the brothers are to hunt down and capture Vonator, and then return with their guides to the ship. Their mission must be accomplished within 30 days at most, for winter is closing in and no ship can withstand the grip of the Kalte pack ice. If you do not return in time, the captain will be forced to set sail without you.
Oh damn. For 6 days, the Cardinal sails across the stormy Kalte Sea without running into a storm, but every day the temperature steadily drops till a layer of ice covers the decks. On the morning of the 7th day, the snow-capped island of Tola is sighted on the horizon. Soon after, a light wind rises from the east. At first there appears to be little danger, but within half an hour, a furious blizzard is blowing, and all sight of land quickly vanishes into the scudding drift. All the day the furious gale rages. Tremendous winds slice the top of the huge grey waves, and water crashes over the decks, masts, and rigging of the ship, freezing almost immediately into solid ice. The sides of the ship become several feet thick with seawater. It is not until the early evening that the weather clears, and although the wind still blows strongly, The force of the gale is spent.
The brothers are soon to discover that the gale has blown the ship nearly 30 miles off course, along the lip of the Lushk ice shelf. The brothers know that to return to Hallibluff would waste a precious day, so they decide to land on the ice shelf and start their mission from there. As the last of the canoe dogs are carried ashore, their guides tell them of the two possible routes to Ikaya from here. The first route involves a 130-mile trek to Cloudmaker Mountain, and then, following the difficult terrain of the Via de Glacia, a further 100 miles must be covered before the brothers arrive at the Ice Fortress. The alternative route involves a longer journey of nearly 180 miles into the Hurod Basin, followed by a trek of 100 miles through Storm Giant Pass to Ikaya. Even if the weather and the brothers' luck hold good, either route will involve 10 days of hard trekking before they reach their goal. The Lone Wolves should consult the map of Kalte before making their decision.
We're given two choices here. If we wish to attempt the shorter but more difficult Viad Glacier route, we turn to 160, or if we wish to take the longer but easier Hrod Basin and Storm Giant Pass route, we turn to 273. Now, I don't know what on earth is waiting for the brothers on the more difficult glacier route, if it's considered more difficult than passing through Storm Giant Pass.
Yeah. H-Rod Basin. Rod Basin. I don't know.
Let's look at the map.
Yes, let's. So we're on the Duke ice shelf.
So here.
There, Landa! The Viad Glacier is more direct.
But more treacherous according to the guides.
More treacherous than Storm Giant's Pass.
I know, the name doesn't bode well. What on earth could be more dangerous than a storm giant?
Two Storm Giants.
I'm getting flashbacks back to when we wanted to avoid the damn sea or whatever it was called. And we wanted to look for weapons, and we took the night street and still ended up at the sea or whatever, the astronomer or whatever it was called. Things don't seem to be named according to what's there.
We're far away from Ragadon, Landa. Whoever named this pass surely must have seen a giant.
My intuition says we take the glacier.
I'm with you.
So we've got a consensus to take the shorter but more difficult glacier route.
It says shorter, but it then said that both routes take 10 days anyway.
Yeah, I imagine it's short in distance but harder trek maybe. So 160 it is. The brothers' transport to Ikaya consists of 2 sledges, each drawn by a team of 6 canoe dogs. This sturdy breed is native to Kalte, and they make ideal sledge dogs. Their thick, tawny coats and powerful chests, as well as their vigor and enthusiasm, even in the coldest climates, make them well suited to the work ahead. On board each sled is enough food and equipment for the mission. The brothers' 3 guides, Irian, Feanor, and Dice, are all experienced trappers. They are skilled at survival in the icy desert and know of the many unseen dangers.
Once the dogs are harnessed, the brothers and Dice climb aboard their sledge and signal to the others to lead the way. As the brothers stare across the frozen expanse of the Lushk ice shelf, they can see a white glare on the distant horizon. This is the Via de Glacia wall, the point where the flow of ice meets the frozen sea. Through the crisp, clear air of Kalte, it looks no more than 6 miles away at most. But in reality, it is nearer 60 miles away. The brothers make good progress on the first day, and as darkness approaches, they decide to set up camp for the night. They halt inside a circle of ice pillars that have been forced upwards by the constantly moving ice shelf. The sledges are drawn together and the tent is erected beside them. Once the canvas is secured and the canoe dogs have been settled for the night, the brothers begin to prepare their evening meal. Suddenly, a terrifying roar is heard outside the tent.
By the gods!
Cries Irian.
A Baknar!
Baknar are large carnivorous creatures that dwell near the Kalte coastline. Their usual prey are Gorlings, or the smaller ostrils that live at the sea's edge. But this Baknar has been attracted by the scent of the dogs. It is about to attack and eat several of your sledge dog team.
Oh no, here we go. Ah, damn it would have been good to have animal kinship again.
Yep, we've been given 3 options. If we have the Kai discipline of animal kinship, we turn to section 318. If we have the Kai discipline of hunting, then that Landa has, we turn to section 204, and otherwise we would have to leave the tent and attack the Bacna by turning to section 78. So I imagine you're gonna use hunting?
Yeah, it would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah. 204 it is.
Lander knows that Bacna are fierce and dangerous creatures. They are afraid of only one thing: fire. Grabbing a torch from the pile of equipment, he lights it and leaves the tent. With me, Torin! Grab a torch! They're scared of fire!
Good to know. Lead the way.
The wind has become much stronger since the brothers first made camp. It whips the fine snow into small whirlwinds that sting their eyes. Moving shadow to their right betrays the Bacnard as it lopes towards them. It is preparing to pounce when it sees the brothers' guttering torches and shrieks in terror. Seconds later, it has disappeared into the darkness. A quick check of the Cano dogs reveals that they are all safe, although still understandably nervous. Torin, we have to ensure that the Bacna does not attack us again. We're going to have to take turns to sit watch. Let's keep our torches and weapons at the ready.
Good idea, Lander. I'll go first.
We've got no option here but to turn to section 134.
The following morning, the brothers awake at dawn to the welcome sight of Feino preparing a hot breakfast. He passes the brothers a steaming bowl each, and they gratefully eat its contents. They then begin loading their equipment onto the sledges for the day's journey. It is a beautiful morning. The wind has dropped and the air is fresh and clear. The canoe dogs are strong and eager to be off, and for most of the day the ice is smooth and the running easy. By nightfall, the brothers have reached Siam Island, a pinnacle of granite rising through the ice shelf to a height of 400 feet. They make camp to the leeward side of the island in order to avoid the worst of the night winds.
Here we've got to roll on the random number table again, and there's 3 outcomes: 0 to 3, 4 to 6, and 7 to 9.
As usual, we'll roll. If we roll in the same bracket, we pick that bracket. If we roll different brackets, the highest rolls again to choose the bracket, if that makes sense.
Do you want to do the honors and go first?
Will do. That's a 7.
And a 2 for Lander, so Torin will decide our fate here.
Okay, I roll again, and whatever I get now decides what section we turn to. That's a 0.
That means we're turning to section 57.
Normally, low numbers are bad things, so let's see what awaits us.
The next day is bitterly cold. A fierce northerly wind blows relentlessly, beating the expedition's faces, drying the lips until they crack and bleed. The brothers' noses begin to run, but the mucus instantly freezes on their lips. The sun is obscured by a thick layer of falling snow that mutes the light. Snow mounds and small potholes in the ice become invisible, and the journey is often brought to a halt when a sledge overturns or jams. A great strain is put on the brothers' eyes by the constant glare as they search for the rough ice on the ground, which is so hazardous. By midday, their vision has become a blur. We've got 2 options here. Fortunately for us, one of them is the Kai discipline of healing, which Torin possesses. So we're turning to section 17.
The brothers recognize that they are suffering the first effects of snow blindness. Unless they act now, the more painful symptoms of this malady will soon appear. If we wish to cover our eyes with a blindfold and keep them covered at least until we make camp later, we turn to section 62. If we do not like the idea of being blindfolded and prefer to risk snow blindness, we turn to 251.
Lander, here, have this. We should blindfold ourselves.
Are you sure, Torin?
We're gonna be blinded.
Well, I guess we're going to be blinded one way or the other, so
The dogs know where they're going. We'll be fine.
I trust you on this. So we're turning to 62 then, yeah?
Yeah, but hold on. Just to make sure. Are you agreeing to this
Yes.
choice? Okay, because if we fall down a cliff and insta-death, I want it to be a mark for both of us, not just me. Okay, so turn to section 62.
Yeah. As the light gradually fades, a blizzard blows across the open ice shelf and batters relentlessly against the tent. The flapping canvas and the pain in the brothers' fingers and toes are beginning to wear on their nerves. They wish they had never set foot in this icy hell. Then, in the middle of the night, the wind rips away the edge of the canvas, and the full force of the gale scatters their equipment and provisions. They are forced to spend the rest of the night on their elbows, clinging with frozen fingers to the edge of the tent. Their sleeping furs fill with a half-frozen slush, and by dawn, their clothes are stiff as ice. The brothers each lose 3 endurance points.
Okay, so I guess we beat the snow blindness and went to sleep, and overnight that happened to us.
Looks like it. Now, we lose 3 endurance points, but because it's the end of a section, we gain 1 back because of your healing. So we only lose 2, in effect. That's 3 down, 1 plus. Lander's down to 31, and Torrin's down to 22. We've got no choice here but to turn to 167. The gale gradually drops, the air clears, and the Vied Glacier is revealed in all its splendor. The even surface of ice crystals look like a carpet of snow, glittering with gems of every hue. Yellow, violet, blue, green, orange and crimson. Yet the crystals are of such brilliance, they would put any jewel in the shade. The ice wall rises over 800 feet, and for the main part, it is a smooth but very steep climb. Although the weather is fine, it takes the best part of a day to climb to the glacier's edge. All of the equipment has to be unloaded and taken to the top of the glacier, where it is repacked onto the sledges. The canoe dogs do hardly anything but fight, and your food is so shaken up the climb that a gruesome mush is all that remains of it.
By the end, the brothers are exhausted. With the daylight fading fast, they decide to pitch camp in the shelter of a natural ice bowl and settle down to a much-deserved night's rest. Again with the random number pickings, so 0 to 6 would make us turn to section 85, and if we choose 7 to 9, we turn to section 300. You roll first, Nick?
Alright, I've got a feeling that 7 to 9 is going to be worse because there's less chance of getting it.
Or maybe it's the best of 2 not very good outcomes.
We'll have to see what fate has in store for us. I've rolled a 7.
Okay, so if I roll a 7, 8 or 9, an 8. So we stay on that bracket, the 7 to 9 bracket, and we turn to section 300.
We both get a point back as well?
Yep. You thought that was the worst, right?
Yeah, I've got a feeling that's going to be the worst.
For 3 days and nights, the expedition treks northwards across the bleak and inhospitable glacier. Irian and Thanor have both suffered from severe snow blindness, and the relentless north wind seems to sap everyone's strength. On the morning of the 4th day on the glacier, the wind finally drops. A bearing can now be taken to find out the expedition's exact position. To everyone's dismay, Irian announces that they have veered a long way off course. The brothers turn to face the ancient grey peaks of a mountain range, looming up out of the northern snow. It is a bleak and forbidding sight.
Aye, the Mijeviks,
says Dice, disappointment written all over his bearded face.
We've come too far east.
The Mijevik Mountains now lie between the expedition and Ikaya. To cross them will mean having to leave the sledges and canoe dogs, packing your equipment on your backs, and continuing on foot. There is an alternative, but it could lose the brothers 2 precious days. They can retrace their route to the glacier and resume the march from there. So I think you are right, the 7 to 9 was the worst option there. We've got lost pretty much and ended up somewhere we didn't want to.
Yeah, we've got 2 options here. We either abandon the dogs on sledge, or we backtrack for 2 days. Torrin, I think we've got no choice but to leave the dogs behind. We can't afford to lose 2 days. If we're not back within 30, the ship will leave. There's no guarantee that the weather will hold up. We go back on the glacier, the storms whip up again. We could be thrown off, or find ourselves further off course.
What if not having the dogs delays us even more, Lander? Not to mention, we'll be walking with all the equipment on our backs. We'll be much slower.
We'll be slower, but 2 days, Torrin. Can we really afford the risk of losing 2 days? Like I said, 2 days to get back there, and then what? We could risk losing even more.
This is not good, Lander. But I think you're right. Let's abandon the poor dogs.
My heart aches for them, but I think this is the right thing to do.
They'll be fine. I think they're accustomed to this place.
Far more accustomed than you or I. So we've got a consensus. If this is a flop, it's a failure on both sides.
Yeah, we turn into section 12.
The equipment is quickly unpacked and distributed amongst the expedition. Each of the brothers shares enough of 3 meals, sleeping furs, and a rope. We've got to mark these on our action chart, which I'm going to promptly do. But it's important to note that the sleeping furs take up 2 item slots in our backpack.
Alright, so after this, our backpacks are pretty much full. Well, mine is full, completely. And Lander has 1 space left. I have a total of 4 meals now, and Lander has 3.
Lander and Torrin cannot take the canoe dogs with them across the mountains, and they are forced to abandon them here with the sledges. A rope is secured to each person, and the brothers set off towards a narrow pass between the dark and sullen peaks. At first, the climb is quite easy, but the smooth ice becomes steep and difficult to cross. A wind rises that piles drifts of loose snow against the broken ice, and visibility is quickly reduced to a few yards. The drifts are deceptive and often deep. On 2 occasions, the brothers sink up to their chests and have to be dug out by the others.
That night, the tent is erected on a table of ice-covered granite overhanging a deep ravine. The brothers are exhausted and almost fall asleep over their evening meal. We need to deduct this meal from the action chart, so now Lander has 2 and Torin has 3.
Do you understand any of the Ice Barbarian language?
Asks Dice, trying to stimulate conversation.
Mijavik is one of the few Ice Barbarian words I know.
What does Mijavik mean?
Terra. Mijavik means terror.
Suddenly, there is a tremendous noise outside the tent. It sounds like the roar of a large animal.
Hold your weapon, Torin. Let's try and keep as still as possible. We're exhausted if we were to fight now. I think our quest would end.
Hold your breath, Lander. Don't make a noise.
So we've got a consensus to turn to section 259 then?
Yep. The other choice was to draw our weapon, but we have chosen not to.
Feanor suddenly leaps to his feet and grabs his sword. It is a Kalkov! Quickly arm yourselves, or we're done for! The others fumble for the weapons as Feanor disappears out into the snow. Almost immediately there is a piercing scream of agony, and something is hurled against the tent. The tent collapses, and the brothers find themselves lying face to face with Feanor's mutilated body.
Oh, shit! We lost one.
Oh dear. Gripped by sudden fear and panic, the brothers scramble out of the tangled chaos and unsheathe their weapons. The hideous shape of the large, 4-legged monster leaps at you. Its red eyes glow like hot coals, and its fanged mouth is wide open to reveal a long, barbed tongue. It is upon Lander and Torin, and they must fight it to the death.
Ooh, this fight starts out strong. The Kalkov has a combat skill of 11, it's not too bad that, and has an endurance of 70, which is massive.
And doubled.
No, sorry, that's already doubled. So 35 doubled.
No, that's what I meant. It's massive and it's already been doubled, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Do you want to do the honors, Big Al? And take the first blow?
Yeah, I'd say as Torin is usually the one to rush out the most, I'd say he's the first one to get to his feet and charge at this Kalkov.
Just to let our listeners know, Torin's combat ratio is 10 and Lander's is 11.
Let's see what I roll. Maybe a one-hit kill?
Ooh, I think
quite
it is.
Possibly. It's a 0, which
think
means
it is.
it's a 10.
So on a 10, you've got a 10.
As I said, Torin leaps up quicker than anyone with his Dark Lord's sword in hand. He runs towards the Kalkov, which is now foaming at the mouth, reveling in the thought of his next meal. As the Kalkov lunges forwards, trying to bite at Torin, he sidesteps it, confusing the beast, that slips and slides across the icy snow. Distracted, Torin manages to go around it, placing one foot on its behind, propelling himself up in the air, and holding the blade in both hands, lets himself fall onto the Kalkov with his full weight behind the sword and plunges it at the back of his neck. The Kalkov instantly falls lifeless to the cold, snowy floor.
Epic. That's your second insta-kill.
Oh yes, 70 hit points out of the window there.
And quite an interesting battle this, even though it's only been one round, because the book states here that if we lose any endurance points, we turn to a different page to that had we killed it without taking.
That's interesting.
So something tells me that he probably has like the Komodo dragons that when they bite you, it like spreads rot or...
It's venom actually, but
venom
yeah.
or... So we have killed the creature without losing any endurance points, and thus we turn to section 151.
Ooh, let's see. As the hideous beast dies at Torin's feet, the brothers can hear Dice's shouting.
Quick! We've got to get away from here! Kalkov never hunt alone!
Grabbing their backpacks, the brothers follow Dice and Irian along a steep mountain path, up and away from the ice ledge. But they have covered less than 50 yards when disaster strikes. Blinded by the darkness and icy wind, Dice fails to see that the path comes to an abrupt end at the edge of a sheer precipice. The brothers freeze in horror, as they hear their guide's screams fading into the darkness ahead. With death threatening from every side, the brothers cling in desperation to the frozen rock face.
That's 2 of our guys dead. Something tells me he's not coming back from that.
Yeah, I think you're right. This is an interesting turn of events here now. We are given 2 options. If we have applied the Bacna oil to our skin, we turn to section 209. If we have not, we turn to section 339. So earlier when we encountered the Bacna, the ones that were trying to eat our doggies, if we had killed it, perhaps we would have been able to extract oil from it, and we would be now covered in Bacna oil, which maybe makes us more resistant to cold. I don't know.
I've got a feeling maybe it would have musked our scent.
Possibly. So we do not have it, and we turn to section 339.
Within 10 minutes, frostbite has eaten into the brothers' hands and feet. On this exposed rock face, the icy winds often exceed a speed of over 100 miles an hour. They last for 30 minutes before severe exposure robs them of all consciousness, and they plummet to the depth, 3,000 feet below. Their mission and lives end here.
What was it we said last time? The video assistant referee, the VAR?
Yeah.
We need to go back to that, because this is bullshit again.
Yeah, I mean, we've been punished here because we haven't been given any choices, basically for insta-killing that great monster.
Yes. Basically, we checked back, so this perhaps reaction isn't as genuine as it should be, because we kind of were trying to make sense of all of this, and we read back. If we had been hit by the monster, we would have had venom, like we were alluding to before. We would have had venom injected into us or whatever. We would have passed out. The other monsters that were apparently hunting in packs would have totally ignored us. We would have slept through the night due to the poison and woken up with like -3 endurance points or some shit like that, because we didn't have Bacna oil.
And Bacna oil, like you were saying, given that we've got the hunting discipline, surely we would have known that if we killed it, we would have been able to get a very valuable resource for this terrain. So
yeah, something that protects you from fucking frostbite in a glacier. So instead, it told you they run away with torches, and we weren't given an option to either kill it or make them run away with torches. So what's the point of... I can understand, because I think it said it in the books, that not all your disciplines will be kind of... When you're asked to use a discipline, it doesn't mean it's going to be a good thing.
No, it didn't say that. It said special items, maybe red herrings.
Yeah, but I also read wisely. I think I also read somewhere that it said that sometimes using a discipline won't be the correct choice, but
so you're a Kai master in that discipline and you're gonna fuck up.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I mean, I could understand if it was a vision, and perhaps with the information I've been given with my sixth sense, then we need to choose one thing or the other, and there we can make a wrong choice. Or perhaps you are given the choice of, do you want to kill it now or do you want to scare it away? Now you have the information because you're a skilled hunter. You know that you can get a good resource out of this beast. Do you want to kill it to get the resource, or are you going to let it go? Then you make an informed decision, and then that would be a fair fail on our part. But this is absolute bullshit. It makes absolute no sense that we've KO'd a creature with 70 hit points. Okay, doubled because it's 2 of us, but whatever. And we are punished for it.
Yeah.
Without a choice beyond it.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
I don't know. Don't know what to say anymore. I don't know.
Bit of a bittersweet. No, not bittersweet.
I mean, bittersweet in the sense that it's a cool fucking story and we were enjoying it up to that point, but it feels like we've been
duped again.
Duped, yeah. Bamboozled.
I just can't believe that by killing the creature without an epic critical hit, you get to survive and carry on with the story, but because you insta-kill it, which should be the most epic of fights, you know, it's like what everybody dreams of playing any game. You sort of one-shot kill something, and you're punished for it. That's
makes no sense.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense to me.
I think on that note, given the early hour of the morning and the rage that is building within me, it's probably a good place to call tonight's episode to an end.
Yeah.
And we will review the footage with the VAR, the video assistant referee, and we'll determine which point we go back to.
Maybe it was all a nightmare that Turing was having.
Yeah, whilst we were sleeping in the... Or maybe Turing did get nicked, and he thought he didn't. He only took 1 endurance point of damage.
That's true as well.
So we will review the footage alongside the refs in the studio.
I think we're confusing people at this point.
There's Copa America and the Euros going on, so football's definitely on the mind at the moment. Or soccer, as some of our listeners will refer to it as.
Yeah, but anyway, we'll see what we do next episode. But I hope you've enjoyed this one, up to this point at least.
But fear not, the story does not end here. We will be continuing next week. And if you can't wait until then, make sure to visit our website www.i2td.com and follow all the links there to all the good stuff, our social media pages, and of course, our Discord server. Why not pop by and say hello on there? Whilst you're on our website, click that little coffee cup icon and visit our Buy Me a Coffee page, where you can make a one-off donation, buy us a potion, which in this game we're using as rerolls, or perhaps join one of our membership tiers, where you can get access to bonus episodes and occasional goodies.
If you do not want to, or cannot donate, or become one of the members, do not worry, you can still help us out tremendously by leaving a review, leaving a rating in one of your podcast players of choice, following us in our social media, and, spreading the word of Into the Dungeon, letting your friends and family know who we are, what we do, and tell them that you enjoy us. All of that helps us tremendously, so again, thank you very much.
Make sure to visit amazon.com or .uk.us.ie, wherever you're from, and search for I2TD Press, where you can find our graph paper composition notebook for role-playing games. We specially made this book to help you unleash your imagination and conquer uncharted realms with our tabletop role-playing game graph paper notebook, tailor-made by ttrpg veterans, that's Big Al and I, for adventurers just like you.
Whether you're a seasoned dungeon master or a fresh-faced player, this versatile notebook is your ultimate companion to design and prepare thrilling quests, daring escapades, and unforgettable journeys through fantastical worlds.
Now, why choose our notebook? Given that you may think, this is just graph paper. But no, you'd be mistaken. Because inside our carefully designed book, you'll find a table of contents for you to conveniently name and number your maps for fast and easy navigation, 2 legend pages containing common hand-drawn map symbols which will help you populate your maps with chests, traps, furniture and more, 100 pages.
100?
100.
Wow.
Numbered quad-ruled paper for easy reference to your table of contents.
You also have 5 pages of free dungeon maps that may spark your imagination if you're feeling a bit underwhelmed, or you have the writer's block or artist's block. And also you have 4 pages filled with the most common area of effect, spells. You can cut them out and use them in your games.
And if you're feeling especially inspired, why not color these in too? Draw on them and tag us. Share your creations with us.
Yes, please do. Find us on X and all those places we mentioned and share your creations. We look forward to seeing them.
This brings us on to the end of the episode club.
The last ones standing.
Where we give you a comment, you use it on our Discord server on the channel The Last One Standing and compete for the esteemed title of El Quillo Más Brava.
Brava. Do you have a password for us today?
I do. Today's password is Snowgood.
And I think I know why. Because this episode, or this, not the episode, but the
logic behind the choices and the outcomes.
It's no good. It's no good.
No, it's bringing me flashbacks of the last book where there was that death loop. Hopefully it's not a repeat of that, where every choice, literally, other than if you have a certain Kai discipline, results in death. Which would be a shame, because, as we've said before, the adventure generally is very enjoyable, but the last 2 death loops, so to say, tainting it ever so slightly.
Very much so, very much so. There will be a kind of review episode, as we did with our maiden campaign, the Dragon of Icespire Peak, where we go over the books and what we've liked, disliked and all that, so make sure to stick around for the remaining episodes. We're going to, again, as a reminder, play the 5 books, and then we'll do a review, and we'll be talking about all of this more extensively. Also, perhaps our mind is changed as we go further into the other books. I don't know.
Certainly changing as the books progress.
Yeah, they're getting worse, I'd say.
Yeah.
The first one didn't, at least we didn't encounter it. Perhaps we did when we were insta-killed by that zombie thing, when the crow...
Oh yeah, that didn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, but they had an errata on that, and I think they have changed it since in the new books, where creeping up was the best option, I think, as opposed to insta-killing.
Yeah.
But all of the other stuff that we've encountered, perhaps it's also changed in the newer books. I don't know. But as it's written, no good. It's no good.
It's no good. So there you have it. We hope you've enjoyed this, and we hope you join us next week as we go back and see what we do and see how we carry on with the story of Lander and Torin, the Lone Wolves. Hope to see you next week as we delve into the dungeon.
There they were taught the skills and discipline. There they were taught the skills and discipline.
The description of the hunchback magician who has succeeded the fierce Brunmalk. A wise choice of Kai disciples and a great deal of courage. Yeah, disciples.
Even before your
And all the wind is still the
brothers are soon to discover. The brothers are soon to discover that the gale has blown the ship nearly 30 miles off course along the lip of the Ljuk ice. Ljuk, I think. Lushk. You are soon to The brothers are soon to discover. The brothers are soon to discover that the gale has blown the ship nearly 30 miles off course along the lip of the Ljuk. Damn, those are some warm sleeping firms. Nice, big and warm. Fuck that. Fuck all of that. Dice fails to see that the puff comes to an Dice fails to see that the puff frees.
So yeah, they've so they coño. And we hope you join in next week to find out what carries on. And how we